Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us bright and early this morning. I hope everyone's having a good time at the conference. And really excited to have you here today so that we can have a conversation that I think is pretty important right about now for those of us in HR. The demands on our function have really never been greater when it comes to having to do more with less, or just all of the uncertainty and angst in the world that everyone has today. So today we're going to talk about how AI can really help us rise to this challenge, not by replacing human expertise, but by just augmenting it, and how we can incorporate that to make our functions better, make our people better, and help our organizations to succeed. So I'm Laura Maffucci. I am the head of HR for GP, and excited today to have from Workday, Scott Gwynn. He is a tech leader who has been at the forefront of AI and enterprise solutions. And let's begin.
All right, let's do it. And first of all, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
It's great to be here. I also want to congratulate you for a couple things. One is you got the award for
We
GP
did.
Gia
That
on
was
Monday.
very exciting. Yep.
Fantastic. Anybody know about GP Gia?
Do you guys know?
You'll hear about that. Have you heard about their new agent?
Well, you'll hear a little about
A
it.
few people in the back.
You'll hear a little about it today, and I encourage you to get a demo because it's really cool and can really help everyone. So.
Awesome. And then on behalf of Workday, I also want to thank you for investing as a partner.
Love Workday.
I saw the announcement a couple weeks back around the certification as a partner on Built on Workday, which is fantastic. There's a lot of rigor to that. I mean, I've seen people spend less time studying for their SATs than those partner requirements. There's a lot of rigor there. We do that for a reason, for our customers, so a big investment. Just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
And the format for our discussion is a fireside chat, as you see. We're going to go through 5 questions on the theme of AI as an extension for HR. I'm going to lead with a question, look for Laura's response, and I'll add some comments from Workday's perspective as well. So with that, we're going to jump in. Our first topic around this theme is around global compliance. Very big challenge for many organizations. Multiple countries, regulations changing all the time. But I want to give you a little bit of context about AI and AI adoption, because I've found it remarkable how far we have come in such a short period of time, just since this time last year, in our adoption and our comfort level with AI in general. We just did a survey, came out, nearly 3,000 respondents, decision makers across HR, finance, and CIO, but all looking at their workforce and how to better manage it. And over 80% had already used AI in some way to impact their business. Over 80% actually were looking at AI agents, exploring how to adopt them. And many of them actually had already expanded a use case somewhere in the organization. So this time last year, I think there was probably a lot of people wondering what an agent was. And so it's really remarkable how far we've come. The other finding is, where is the trust level in AI agents? And the finding is around 79% in this survey have comfort level with certain use cases more than others. And those use cases are around heavy analytics capabilities, as you might expect, forecasting, compliance, which we'll be talking about today. So I think the takeaway from that is, in this survey, you could think of sometimes humans are biased in the results. The trust in AI agents actually to come back with unbiased results actually was really high. So that's fantastic. So in that context, around our first topic question, let me ask you this. So we all know that global employment compliance is challenging, almost daunting. You've lived it yourself.
I live it every day.
Every day. So how does AI kind of change what feels impossible to very achievable? And then what does that impact on your team and for other HR professionals out here?
Sure. So I think, employment compliance is almost the perfect use case for AI. And not just global. I think, right now in the United States, every state is implementing newer and newer regulations that differ from other states that you have to stay on top of. So even if you're just in the US, even just in one state, those regulations are constantly changing. Never mind when you wind up being in multiple countries. So to really it's impossible to keep up with all that. So something like our GPGIA, which gives you real-time answers to your compliance and legal questions, can really come in handy, can really help you feel confident that you're getting the right information. All of our sources are verified. It's built on over a decade of our experience in global employment, over 100,000 cases, and it's also powered by our team of in-house legal experts. And when you use something like that, it really frees you up to focus on other things. And you know, we go to legal so much less.
Yes.
Like our legal department, they're our best friends, and we love talking to legal, and we want to talk to them as much as possible. But it is always nice to be able to, even if we do have to go to them, we go to them with an answer saying, this is how I'm going to proceed based on this information, if we just want to gut check it, but we don't have to go to them first. And if you don't have inside legal counsel, you save money because you're not going to your outside counsel to try and get the answers that you need. And that also takes a really long time. You know, sometimes you're waiting a day or two to hear back from somebody in compliance or your lawyer. So this gives you that information quickly and accurately, and you can get on with your day.
Awesome. Yeah, a couple things that I heard there. One is the traditional global compliance, as you said, takes a lot of effort, many hours of research, tracking down, looking for that final approval from an expert.
Yep.
So a great opportunity, I think, for AI agents to be able to step in there. And I think the other thing, I guess, that I would share with you is it's not just about compliance. If you kind of went beyond compliance as a strategy, there's so many areas where this week, how many of you have maybe folks that are at Rising this week, Workday Rising? So it's happening the exact few days. And so we talk a lot about, I'm in the talent area in particular, and we talk a lot about people first strategies. What does that mean? That means building, creating a destination workplace. We want to do it for ourselves. We want to do it for our customers, people as well. I'm sure GP wants to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Unlocking peak performance is another part of it. And then getting ready for the future of work. Making sure that we are prepared, that we have learning in place to prepare, even in the face of AI, and maybe even particularly in the face of AI. So this is the same thing we've had for 3 years, and it's the same thing that we have this year at Rising. And we're just looking for ways, and we've already done that in our products, embedding AI and AI agent capabilities within our talent acquisition process, within our talent management process. You're seeing lights out metrics in compression time from that time to hire. So many opportunities. And you talked about, going to legal less, super huge opportunity there. Wanted to touch on a couple other things too that I heard. One is around data, the importance of data and getting that right. And I think for AI agents, AI to be effective, you have to have robust data governance in place. And the other thing is about trust, and we're going to talk more about trust, but I think that starts with really selecting a provider that has a proven track record for reliability, security, and building in ethics into the product. And so that's one thing central to what we do. I know what GP does is making sure that humans are in the loop, in addition to those 3 areas that I talked about. All right,
Yep.
So the next one that we want to cover, Laura, is around and going from administrative to strategic. Like how do you up the game from that freeing up that time that you talked about so far? How do you make it from being a strategic advantage for your team?
So I think this really speaks to being able to make AI an extension of your team, and I'll be perfectly honest, this is the part that scares me, but we've started using it almost as a thought partner. So we'll use it when doing employee investigations or needing to do manager coaching, putting all of the notes in and having it summarize it and give us themes. And a lot of the times it either finds something that we didn't think of, or it points out something about it in a little bit of a different way. And HR can be really lonely. We can't always talk through something that we're working on with someone else because it's so confidential. But you have this little AI agent who can become your, your thought partner on this and talk it through with you and help you come up with those things so that you can go back to your leaders and give them coaching on how to work with their employees, or give performance notes to employees, or scripts for managers who need to have these hard conversations. So we use it a lot like that. And again, scares me a little bit, but it is really, really, really effective in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing the same thing in the talent area, that freeing up of time, I guess, to do more with less. So I think when you look at recruiters, for example, as they're compressing that time, it is freeing them up to have more meaningful conversations with candidates. So that time to hire gets compressed. That's more time they're doing that. That's compression of the screening time. Again, more time for the quality work, the strategic work. Are we, making sure that we're diversified in our hiring processes? All of those things much more strategic.
And even another thing that we do, and we can do this with GPGIA, is FAQs, and not just on the policies that you've uploaded to get that FAQ. If there's an employee program, say you're running an employee event, and you put the information into GPGIA, it'll spit out those FAQs for you. That's something that would take a couple hours to sit down and go through and circulate and get other people's feedback. So you get something like that done and out of the way, and then you have more time to work with your leaders and work with employees and focus on some more really value-added work that isn't replaceable by, AI.
Yes,
so
exactly.
it becomes that extension. It becomes that partner for you.
All right, let's talk about something that's fundamentally changing with AI, and that's the compression of, or the deterioration of barriers to expertise. And I think that's something that GPGIA solves for as well. But you're seeing it in a lot of ways. You no longer are you having to wait if you need something around a regulation, compliance regulation, information around that in Singapore at 2 a.m., you've got it. If you're looking for cultural best practices around performance management in Brazil, again, at your fingertips. These kind of things are there to free us up. And I think instead of really replacing, as you talked about, we're actually amplifying what humans can do today, which I think is fantastic. What do you think about?
No, I agree.
Democratization of that data process?
I think it's super important, and when I think about it, I think about working in a multi-time zone, and we've got employees in every single time zone. So we can have somebody working in Europe not having to wait for somebody on the legal team in the US to answer their question, vice versa. So I think that's really changing the game when you are working across multiple time zones. But again, it just goes back to freeing you up to have the time to do other things. You can just keep going and not have to wait. And that gives you more space to think and even improve what you're working on, because you don't have to rush it out there. You have time to work with it a little more rather than spending all your time looking for the information.
Exactly. We just, one of our announcements at Rising this week was around we call it Ask Workday, and it's conversational AI that has as an interface into a self-service agent. And with that, you can actually, that agent scrolls through Workday's platform of data, which is extensive. We all know we do 1 trillion transactions a year now. So it goes through that data, respecting security configurations by the customer, by you, making sure that data privacy is adhered to, but brings back that data that you're looking for in a conversational language, which is, I think, game-changing for many of us, because no more are you like trying to figure out what 5 different systems do I need to make sure that I have the right data to come up with the right response. Now you're thinking of, because you're now trusting this data because you're using it, and I'll maybe mention that in a sec, but now you're saying, okay, this is fantastic, and this is the decision that I can now come up with. It's much more richer in terms of the input that went into it, the research that has been brought up, and so whether it's your conversations with your team as you're having performance reviews, or it's looking at your compensation distribution, across different parts of your organization. Yeah. All of those things help you make better decisions in faster time. So
absolutely.
All right, so on to our next question, which is around the topic of trust in AI.
That's my favorite.
So for people-related decisions like hiring, as we talked about, there is one particular emphasis. We want to make sure that humans are in the loop, and we talked a little bit about this. At Workday, we call it responsible AI. It's an initiative. We build it into our products to make sure that humans are always in the loop, that we have the security in place. But here's kind of a key insight that folks who have already tried out AI are 95% more likely to trust AI. And so it's not just and conversely, if you haven't tried it yet, about 36% say I trust AI. So it's not really about the theoretical, it's really the experiential. And so we are, at Workday, we're trying to break down barriers to make it much more easy to try, experiment before you roll it out. But the question that I have for you is how do we build trust? Embrace AI with confidence and in your team, not just you.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with this from two angles. The first angle I'm going to go at is, GPGIA, one of, if not the biggest differentiator about GPGIA is the information is verified and trusted. Like I mentioned before, it's built on over a decade of our experience. We invented the EOR industry. We've been in global employment longer than anyone else, and we have all of that knowledge built in there, also built with in-house HR experts around the world, as well as our lawyers, so you can really trust it. One of the things that we found in some research over the past month or so is that with your regular LLMs, when you're asking them a question, like say your ChatGPT and it's scraping the internet for the answer, over 70% of those answers are coming from Reddit, Quora, Wikipedia. So if you've got a legal question or a global employment compliance question, your first thought isn't, you know what, I'm going to go see what Reddit says I should do about this. That's probably not the best thing to do. So yeah, so that even makes Gia even more impressive from a trust standpoint. You'll see a little badge right there that says GP verified on the answers with all the citations of where the information came from, so you know that you can trust it. That's not the kind of thing you want to be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is right. You need to get it right. So awesome. From that angle, and then as far as for our organization, like many companies, we announced that we expect you to use AI as part of your job. And that can be a little overwhelming for employees to hear. So I think it's important that they understand that that doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. Everyone has a different job. So which tool you use, how much you use it, what you use it for is going to be very different depending on what role you're in. Okay. We started an AI council, the Chief Technology Officer and I, and we own the policy, which most policies you put in place and you let sit for a while and you review maybe once a year. Every other month, we're updating this policy because things are changing so much. And we also focus a huge amount on enabling employees and encouraging employees to experiment, use AI. We have an AI Awesomeness Awards that we do.
Cool.
Yeah, there's like different categories for how you might use AI, and you can submit yourself, you can submit a coworker who did something using AI. And we really make that public. We have a Slack channel where people are going in and sharing how they're using AI. We have, our AI team is outstanding. We have such excellent AI experts in-house that have built the product, but they're passionate about AI. They love talking about it, so we'll do office hours with them where they will, share insights about AI, and employees that are curious about it can learn about it. We run prompting classes. Those people will do prompting classes for us. So we're really trying to enable and encourage. I think the big mistake a lot of companies are making is they're saying, yep, everybody, we're all AI now, use AI, and then that's it. And they don't tell employees how. We make it easy for them. Security is so important. So we want to make sure they're bringing on tools, but we also want to make sure that those tools are secure. So we have a process where we can very quickly have IT look at suggested tools, determine if it's something that we're okay bringing into the organization, and allowing employees to bring it in quickly. So you want to have that oversight, but you also don't want to be a barrier because that there's such a fine line on the security. You'd be surprised at how many very smart people at very senior levels go in and put like an email with tons of confidential information into ChatGPT. and ask it a question that's not out there, now out there. And they didn't realize, well, it disappears when I'm done. No, it doesn't. Nothing, the internet is forever. Like, you can't put something out there. So really educating them, no, you can only use this tool that we have in-house for something like that. So there's all of that. And then the other thing that I could go on for days is critical thinking.
It's a critical time period for trust, so keep going.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, I think critical thinking,
Yeah.
you know, not to be cheesy, stereotypical HR, but I do think that employees are looking for their job to in some way enhance their life and make them better and become a better person. And AI is everywhere, it's not just at work. And we don't know what is real anymore. So the more you teach employees about how to use AI responsibly in their jobs, they can then apply that in their daily lives to understand how to keep their own personal information safe, how to think more critically about the things that they see. So I think it's just a huge opportunity all around for the workplace to have an impact on people outside of work, and by extension on how everyone is starting to think about AI and use AI.
Yeah, fascinating. The engineering prompt engineering, I think, is very important. Because you can get so much better of an answer if you
it's all
if you
about
don't
the
settle
prompt.
for the first answer and you kind of ask for more details or provide more information or more context, and learning that.
It's
once
hard,
you get
yeah.
that, it is hard. It is hard at first, but once you get
Once
there,
you
it's
get
like
it.
a light switch.
Because a lot of people
goes on,
use it
yeah.
like Google, and it's different. You know,
Yeah.
you pose your answers differently. And we found that when we told people you can't use ChatGPT anymore, you have to use this other tool that is enterprise-wide that we know they're not doing anything with our data, people complained because they were used to ChatGPT, they like ChatGPT, and we found that the biggest problem was they didn't know how to prompt it properly. So teaching them how to prompt it has really decreased the complaints about the tool. So.
Awesome. One thing that I think is important to touch upon as well is transparency. We have a business process optimization agent. Actually, it's called business process optimize agent. I better get it right. If it comes back with a recommendation of bringing your business process down from 45 hours down to 10, you know, you should be skeptical. So you can click in and actually see where the source of the data comes from, the logic that went into it. All those I think are important in building that trust component that we talked about. Another important thing is around bringing the employees along on the way in terms of learning AI. And I've got a great friend of mine, he heads up people analytics at Workday, Phil Wilburn. We at Workday just went through a major restructuring within the last year, and it hit his team as well. And he shared a very kind of candid and personal story of what that meant. It hurt all of us, you know, because we love Workday. It's a fantastic company. I've been there for 8 years, and I hope I get to stay at least 8 more. And so when that happened, yeah, it definitely hurt. And so he and his team was looking at, all right, so what do I do? I've got a fantastic team. Do I talk about how fantastic we are? Do I broadcast it more in social media? Do I build a moat around it? Or do I lean into AI and take a risk and see where it goes? And he went through a lot of conversations with himself, with folks that he really trusted, and he decided to lean in with his team. And it turned out about 40% of the transaction volume that they were used to conducting went into a different team. That freed his team up by 40%. So he took that and actually did two big initiatives. One was, let's get the sentiment back using Peakon. We got our sentiment scores back up within a quarter. Our target was by 6 months, so we got that back up. But the important one was what you touched upon as well, and that was he launched an everyday AI initiative. So doing a lot of the same things that you're doing, encouraging experimentation with different AI tools, AI concepts, and it's been a big hit. So bringing our 20,000 employees along on the journey is so important, and certainly very important to consider as you go.
Yeah.
So let's go into the future. So what do you say for the folks in the room out there? What advice would you give, Laura, for the next step, I guess, for them as they kind of go next for adopting AI, make it that an extension of HR?
Sure. I think that there's a tendency when technology shifts, and it's happening faster than it ever has before. I think we saw it when social media first came into be. Yes, I'm that old that I was pre-social media. Um, it, there's a tendency to hide from it and think, oh, that's not going to affect me. And this is really a let go or be dragged moment. You know, people aren't going to lose their jobs because of AI. They're people who don't know how to use AI might lose their jobs to AI. You have to get in front of it. I think it's a unique opportunity for HR to actually be leading something that might be considered more of a technology initiative, because it's the way to have your organization be successful with adopting and using AI is to make sure that your employees are coming along, and HR is uniquely positioned to do that, and has the expertise and the knowledge on how to best do that. So, you know, I go back to the social media examples. I can remember when we first hired somebody at the company I was at to be social media marketing, and we started getting complaints in HR that there was an employee sitting on Facebook all day. Because people didn't understand that that was their job. Or if your child does something stupid on social media, which they all do, there can be a tendency to say, well, I'm taking the phone away and they can't have social media. Well, that's not what you need to do. What you need to do is teach them how to use it responsibly, because you can't hide them from social media for their entire life. We can't hide from this. Mm-hmm. So, and we also can't keep up with it. And anyone who says that they are keeping up with it is deluding themselves. There is no way to keep up with it. It's changing too fast. So acknowledging that and making sure that you're doing everything you can to stay as informed and as possible, and never putting your head in the sand and acting like it's not there. I think that's the key for everyone.
I think so too.
Personally and professionally.
Yeah,
I think that's
great advice. I would add to that by saying that don't think about your progress in terms of the number of tasks AI is solving for. Think about how much the quality of your employees' work is improving because of the support of AI. So that's the measure that you should be looking at, is not the number of tasks, it's the outcomes, the amount that you've freed up to have those more critical decisions, to compress it. My advice would be to start off with those use cases we talked about, those heavy analytics use cases, test it, try it out, and start to expand from there. We also would recommend, using use cases that have a proven track record. We have HiredScore that had lots of great use cases about compressing that time to hire process, the quality of hire improving as well. So that's another measure or kind of way to start. Recruiting is so important, and there's lots of opportunity to, I think, compress that and bring up the quality.
Absolutely.
So those would be my 2 bits of advice.
Great advice.
You want to bring it home?
I guess. Katie, do we have time for Q&A, or should we just close? Okay. Does anyone have any questions or anything they'd like to share about their experiences with AI? Tips? No?
How many people are using AI agents? Anybody? Just by show of hands. We got a 1, 2, 3. Actually, that's a good number. Fantastic.
Did you have a question?
Yeah.
What have you seen in terms of your adoption rates? Have you been comfortable using it as you started to push it forward? I think leadership kind of saying, we really want you to use AI, but what's been the adoption rate? People are still skeptical.
Great question. So what's the adoption rate of AI? In our experience at Workday, we're at about 60% adoption, as we've seen that climb. Our findings through our survey work, it's higher than that. So some of those might be skewed by the department. Maybe it was in finance where they're working on the workforce. So it probably depends a little bit. What's your experience?
I think I haven't.
Can you guys hear us? You can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Do you have a mic? And do we have an external mic, maybe, or?
There we go. Let's turn that one off.
Oops.
That's okay. Okay. Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. The last time I looked at the numbers, I want to say we were up over 80%.
Fantastic.
Through our initiatives. And again, a lot of that might be because we have been really out there pushing people to bring in additional tools and not just saying this is the only one. And people have really embraced it around the organization, but we're really happy with the adoption that we're seeing.
Awesome. Any other questions from the crowd?
Sorry, Laura, can you expand on the time frame? Like maybe over 3 years?
Oh no, this has only been over about, how long ago was it that was? It was maybe 6 months. Yeah, maybe 6 months. Yeah, yeah. We have a very endlessly optimistic and enthusiastic workforce that likes to participate in things like that. We're really lucky. It's kind of cool. I've never seen anything like it before. Even when
Yeah.
we implemented Workday, the uptake of it and the feedback about it, it was something I'd never seen. So we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, the beauty of it is once you start tracking it, which we did with Phil Wilburn's initiative, once you start tracking it, you see when it starts to plateau, and you look for ways to tweak it, and then it starts going up again, and that's what we're seeing most recently. So, any other questions? Yes, sir. You want to get him a mic? There you go.
Excuse me, sorry.
Do you have any suggestions for a non-tech-based company for gauging adoption?
Suggestions for a non-tech-based company for AI agent adoption. A couple things. If you happen to be a Workday customer, we just made announcements about we call it Workday Build. So it's basically we just acquired a company called Flowwise that makes it really easy to build agents on your own in a very short period of time, but built on the Workday platform. If you're a Workday customer, that's one way. You could actually go out there, and there's actually tutorials on YouTube that allow you to get started in like 20 minutes. That's what they advertise. I haven't tried it yet. That'd be. I think the way's out there. I would say just start off with an AI initiative, and then build that into your program. You know, the concepts that we talked about and the way to do it. And I think you'll find that the AI agents are built so you don't need to be tech heavy to start to take it on.
And the other thing I would say is there's probably people in your organization who are really interested and curious about AI personally. Tap into them and have them be advocates throughout your organization and start to look for tools that fit into your organization, because again, every job is different, every organization is different, but if you can find those evangelists, they don't have to be tech people, they most likely won't be tech people, and have them help to bring the organization along as part of that initiative, and I think you'll see some good results that way as well.
Great question, thanks. Anybody else? We have one more?
Hey there, so you talked a lot about prompting and having to teach people how to prompt better. So the whole idea of like garbage in, garbage out, especially with like Claude and ChatGPT, who led that initiative? Was it a tech person? Was it HR? Like what was the practical application of that?
So that was our AI council, which
Okay.
That's the chief technology officer, myself. There's a couple of representatives from IT. We have a couple of representatives from the product team, and specifically the product team that works on Gia, as well, our own AI, as well as I think a couple of people from legal. So we have these brainstorming sessions when we have our meetings every other week. And one of the things, and I think it was one of the AI professionals who pointed out that, well, if people are complaining that they don't like this tool, it's probably because they're not prompting it correctly. And then from there, we said, okay, why don't we do some prompting classes? So that's really how we got there. So it's a cross section of most of the functions in the organization and what we're hearing on the ground. And then we see things that pop up in the Slack channel, and we take themes from there to know, okay, it looks like a lot of people are talking about this, so let's focus on this for a little while. So that's really how we've gauged it. No, we sort of got a surprise announcement.
So she was asking if it was more of a pilot versus more of a pilot versus a full-on program. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a full-on program. Yeah, like we very quickly mobilized to get some stuff out there to mobilize and enable employees to really use AI. And a lot of the motivation comes from security. That's the first and foremost. It's okay if we're encouraging everybody to go out and use AI, we better get in front of this so that we don't wind up with a massive security problem on our hands, because they're all going out there and getting all these tools that IT doesn't know anything about, and we don't know if they're secure.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like a little bit of a security concern to get the IT team in action really fast, and I think that's part of what we saw. But it's really been positive. I think employees have really, I think they're getting a lot out of it.
One more question? One more question. Who's got it? One more.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I think this was a great
Thank you all.
conversation.
Great, great conversation.
And if you are interested in learning more about Workday or GP and GP Gia, feel free to come up and chat with us now. And I encourage you to check out a demo while you're here, either over here or over in the AI Playground. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.